The metabolic assessment form is what we're looking at right now. I don't know if you follow Dr. Karazian and some of his books. Yeah. It's why, it's called, he's got a brain book and he's got a thyroid book, really great stuff. So these questionnaires quantify different areas in the body like gut health, stomach acid, too low, too high, bile support. Do you get your gallbladder out? Did I read that?
No.
Why? That's the second person today that I had that happen to. So on this particular category here, you can see, where is it here? On category, right here. So it says, have you ever had your gallbladder removed? And it says yes. So you didn't?
No.
Okay, that's weird because that's 2 times in a row now. That might have been just a mistake. Because you see a lot of people have their gallbladder removed when they've had methylation issues. So that, I was reviewing this, like, okay, we need to talk about that, and then maybe talk about. So, anyways, that changes up the parameters. But basically, what I did is I looked at these scores, and if you can see, there's a couple areas that have a higher percentage. So this says 38%. Any score that's above 20% is an area that I get concerned about. You want 0%. You don't want to have any symptoms whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So this particular category talks about your barrier system, which is your gut barrier, your brain barrier, leaky gut, permeable membranes, stuff like that. So I'm sure that's a work in progress, like you said, but that can take up to 6 months to a year, even if you have removed the nutrients too. But I don't know, I'm sure with Dr. Lynch's followings, here is his newest pathway planner. And what we really like to show about with the pathway planner is it goes more than just the gene. It's not only about the gene that's snipped, because there's cofactors in a gene, which means do you have the right minerals and ATP and magnesium and B1, B2, selenium, zinc. Those are all necessary for genes to work properly. So you can have a minus gene, but it's not working well because it's dirty, like he says, where you have cofactors that are missing, or you have inhibitors. So that's a really important thing. There's things that he doesn't like to call it inhibitors anymore. He calls it decreased activity. So things that decrease in activity of a gene. So things like hormone replacements, medications, what else? Heavy metals, infections, cell danger responses, those slow down genes. And then lastly, the amount of pressure on a gene is from stress. So you have 4 major things that impact a gene. You have the gene itself, which you can't switch. You have the stressors, right, which is life. You have the cofactors, if you're missing the cofactors. And the last one I didn't explain would be the car accidents, the decreased activities. So I think of it like this. Think of it as your genes are like a highway. And if you have a plus homozygous gene, it's 2 lanes, and it should be 8 lanes. If you have a plus minus, it's 4 lanes. If you have a minus, it's 8 lanes. But it's not only about 8 lanes or 2 lanes that make it slow. The things we get concerned about are car accidents, which are the heavy metals, infections, traumas, gut health, food sensitivities, anything that's inflammatory, really, like what we call TNF alpha, IL-6, major infections. Those will really, and then heavy metals, pesticides, sprays will slow down those genes too. And then car accidents are those things. And then how many cars are on the highway? That's the stress. So that's how we try to look at what you've done there and with what your genetics show us to see where those perfect storms are. And give you a couple, 1 or 2 or 3 distinctions so that you have something new to take home with you. Because really 1 visit is not enough time to really get as much as we need to do, but it's a really great start. So does that make sense? You knew all this already and pretty much? Okay. So what I want to do is, how do you best want to get this time? What's your for you?
What I answered in the beginning of the quiz was
up here.
I want to know how to increase there.
Yeah.
What supplements do I need to be taking for MTHFR and vitamin supplements? I'm not absorbing ferritin, iron at all. So what is the problem? How do we increase the ferritin? Because I have like half the hair on my head. Iodine. I was completely iodine deficient. Now I'm not so certain how much to take. My TSH had gone from 4.3 to 2.2, and then it skyrocketed to 7 point something because of the iodine, I assume. So, and the food sensitivities, I was basically, the IgG sensitivities I had towards almost all fruits, all vegetables, all spices, and now they've come down about half.
Right.
Third to a half.
You retested?
I retested, and they're all better. So, how do I continue on that path?
Okay, so good questions, but it just doesn't come down to genes, right? It comes down to the cars on the highway, comes down to car accidents, to cofactors. So very, very important. But for answering your first question on MTHFR and the supplements that you need to take for that. So let's try to address that. So let's look at your SNPs. So I have it over here. I thought I opened it right here. Okay, so it's going to be on, let me see if I can, right here. All right, so I'll have Taylor print this out for you because we uploaded it to LiveWello. LiveWello is another reporting site that we use. I've created a report that has the relevant RSID numbers, which have shown to be more related to conditions in the population. Like, so when you get like just the raw data and you look at everything and you look at all your SNPs, there's a lot of redundancies in there, meaning they're not clinically significant. So it's too much information. Like you'll see, there's different kinds of MTHFRs besides C677T. So what we have here is right. So you have what's called compound heterozygous, right? So let's look at that right now. So the compound heterozygous, which is right here. So you see how both these enzymes have a plus minus. Mm-hmm. So that's what we say you have compound heterozygous. So
what's the program you're using?
This is called LiveWello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is called LiveWello. I'm sorry, I have about 5 windows open. I just have to find out. Okay, so when we look at the compound heterozygous, let's bring up that methylation cycle. So that's right here, this enzyme right here. And you can look at the major importance is it shows you, it shows you what the things will decrease the activity. So you have to be real careful with SAMe. Do you take SAMe at all?
I don't. That was one of my questions, should I? Because Ben Lynch kind of recommends it, but I didn't want to get into more until I spoke to someone.
Yeah, so I think it's a good supplement to pulse with, not to gavel, okay, take it for the rest of your life. It's one to pulse with, meaning take it a couple days. If you find, and then come off. But the problem with taking it too much is, you see this is called decrease activity. So if you take SAMe too much, it will actually slow down even further your compound heterozygous gene. So you have to be real careful with that. One of the other enzymes that I think, as far as B supplementation goes, which you probably are not aware of, is on this SHMT. You see how you have that plus minus on that one as well? Mm-hmm. So here is SHMT right here. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So what I tell patients in that particular gene is, think about this is the 95, this is Jacksonville, and this is Miami. And you have to travel on all these highways if you're taking folic acid to get out to Miami.
No, I cut all folic acid, but I take folate.
Right, but the problem with folate is it's already past this exit here. So think of it as if I'm going down Miami, or I'm going down, I'm a trucker, and I got to fill up gas on different gas stations, and I'm going to make it down to Miami. But I got to use some of my gas first to get off in West Palm and recycle. That's called folinic. So if you're only taking folate,
yes, I am.
If you're only taking folate, it's not going to necessarily recycle up, come back down the highway and go there. So I would be looking at more folinic, FOLINIC. The one that we really like it's called Max B&D.
In place of folate?
Both. Like I would definitely recommend. I put it in. It's this one right here.
Do you sell all these?
Yeah, I have this one here, and that has all the methylated end chain forms of folates, but mostly folinic.
So if you take this, you don't need to take the folate.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it has it in it.
Because it has it in it.
Mhm.
But if you only take folate,
Yeah.
you're not getting folinic,
Okay.
and that's big.
Okay.
Because the problem is that you're not going to come back up, because once you give away that methyl group, it comes back up to become what's called tetrahydrofolate again.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's got to recycle.
And this is how much every day?
Depends. Like we really tell people to take like 1 or 2 drops. Drops, just to see how they do.
Oh.
Because sometimes what will happen is if you take methylfolate, it does 2 things. It helps make biopterin, which is necessary for your neurotransmitters. So it helps synthesize dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah, I have very high
You have neurotransmitters.
dopamine, I think.
You've measured that?
I think so, yeah. I have to look through.
Okay, so that's the problem is that if you're taking methylfolate and you have more blockages with making SAMe than you do with methylfolate making biopterin, then you'll make a lot more dopamine, but you won't clear it out. So methylfolate's kind of that balancing beam where it decides, hey, we're going to help break dopamine down by making SAMe, and we're going to help make dopamine by helping make biopterin.
So you could actually take 2 drops of this every day for 3 months and then test for dopamine.
I don't know if I've never been asked that question. Yeah, I mean, you would want to do other things, right? So another problem that we would have with that discrepancy is with dopamine is actually not being the amino acids aren't getting into tyrosine, isn't converting into dopamine because of you have iron deficiencies, right? And the iron is a big cofactor for that one. So to answer your question, I usually start off with a couple drops on that, but then I can go up to a couple teaspoons on that, like 2 teaspoons a day. It just really depends. But it's in its end chain form, which means it's really nice. It's in folinic, and yeah, it's actually fermented. It's in a probiotic form. And what's nice about it is it's a folinic. So the first question is folinic versus just folate. The second answer to the first question is there's no dose to tell you, because depending on stress, right? Like I
have no stress.
Well, you do by living in the world.
True.
Right?
Okay, 1.
Yeah, 1. But then if you're in a vacuum all day and you're not breathing the air, you don't have any stress from the environment either. And as much as you'd like to think that you're eating as clean as you possibly can, there's probably some kind of something on there that's been adulterated. It's just our world is so toxic that those things impact your demand for using methyl groups. So if you're on vacation, you pull off the dosing because you don't need it as much. If you're working and you're consuming brain power, you need more. So that's the pulsing method as well. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's really important. If you look at SHMT, it needs a cofactor of B6.
I'm taking liquid B complex and a liquid B12.
So yeah, and that's where it becomes like, you take the hydrochloric acid?
No.
So I would really look into that because when we look at how well you're recycling homocysteine, and that comes with B12, which I believe you had that MTRR as well, right? I think we looked at that. So
yeah. So my levels, my B vitamin levels appear to be like within normal range, whatever that is. But I'm taking huge amounts of it.
So you don't, the problem with those tests, those are serum tests, or they're...
Yeah, blood tests.
Yeah, those serum tests are not reflective of what's inside the cell. So you don't know how much is oxidized or not. So a lot of times people will tell me, oh yeah, my B12 levels are fine. And say, you serum? Yeah, serum. Well, there's no way to tell if that's reduced or that's oxidized. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I would go by that.
Okay.
It's too ambiguous.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the concern is micromanaging. It's too hard to say I'm taking, I'm going to take this supplement for this gene, this supplement for that gene, because then you're on 1,001 different supplements.
Right.
So the big thing is make sure you're breaking down your protein, because if you're not secreting enough hydrochloric acid, you're not liberating B12, you're not liberating iron. Yeah. And that will help with iron too.
Yeah.
Right? That's very important too. Is helping with iron. So to answer that question too, hydrochloric acid is going to help with iron. Very, very important. Are you still having a cycle?
No.
So that would be another concern, right? If we were still having a cycle, then every 28 days you're losing a lot of iron. That's when we would maybe pulse a lot higher in terms of the biopterin or the folinic and some iron. And what do you take iron or you don't take iron?
I take a lot of iron.
Yeah. Okay. So upstream from that is digestive, right? Getting hydrochloric acid. I would tell you every single meal.
Have that too?
I do. I don't have it here. A lot of the stuff, because I see so many people from abroad that we just drop ship, and I don't think I have that one here. But I would say that's like not death sentence, life sentence for anyone over 20.
Okay.
You need to be on hydrochloric acid because it helps break down that food. And actually, it's called betaine. Hydrochloric acid.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah. Okay. That's you do already have it,
I
right?
have it. I'm not taking it right now, but I can with every meal.
Every meal.
Okay. That's in Dr. Wentz's book.
Betaine.
Yeah.
So if we look at, and then you already know, I don't have to tell you about your folic acid receptor. That's this one right here. That just means that you don't take folic. It's I tell patients like if you're going on a highway from Jacksonville to Miami. Your on-ramp is messed up, which is the folic acid receptor, and your off-ramp is messed up. So the best thing to do is just beam yourself down to Miami, which is the analogous of all leafy green vegetables, right?
That's easy. Anything I can do, I'm doing.
You're doing that. Okay, good. All right. So that's sort of the first phase of the cycle. The other thing I wanted to tell you was that MTHFS, which is right here. So MTHFS is on the bottom of SHMT. So if you look, here's that SHMT, here's the MTHFS. So that's really problematic for repairing your DNA, your hair, your skin, your teeth, your nail, your bones. Hence, much more importance for folinic. Like if we didn't do anything else and we just started you on folinic, we're feeling a lot.
Worth the $400
yeah, it's a lot better just on that alone. But also the hydrochloric acid every meal.
I'll add the betaine back in.
Yeah, betaine back in.
Yeah, how much?
You don't know.
It's
you know what? The one that we do is 500 milligrams. So
at every meal or?
Every meal.
Every meal.
Now, if you're having a vegan meal, I don't know if you need it, right? Because you don't need it to break up that protein.
Mm-hmm. Only if I have the only protein, I was vegetarian for about 38 years. So, hence, my diet didn't help totally with this.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, so now I eat chicken and fish. So when I eat chicken or fish, I can have that. Absolutely.
But the other thing too, though, is really important is from time to time put it in there anyways, because the HCl is disinfectant. So it's a really good immune supporter. And it will also help clear out homocysteine to get to
have it every day.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Okay.
It's that important. The MTHFS, you can see the cofactors are magnesium and ATP. So that's a good mineral blend. ATP is one of those things where we say all of this is taking place in the mitochondria, right? This is where this is taking place. And Krebs cycle is production of ATP. And that takes place in the mitochondria. So as long as we're working, ATP is making sure your oxygenation to the cells are happening, making sure you have enough minerals, making sure.
I don't have enough oxygen in the cells. I've had both a acupuncturist and an iridologist tell me you have problems with not enough oxygen in the cell. So
it's a catch-22. Like we're talking about mitochondrial health, methylation blockages, B deficiencies, car accidents in terms of either heavy metals, infections. So that would slow down mitochondria, that would slow down oxygenation to the cells. So is there things that you can do? There are things. They have things like they're big now. They're called they put like these hydrogen. It's called they put like hydrogen tablets in water, and those are really nice antioxidants Those are pretty good too. But just, getting out and breathing oxygen is oxygen. That's what that is. Getting good minerals. What we recommend is people take a pH every morning. So they, take their pH strip and make sure they're 6.4 to 7.0.
I've been very low for a long time, which is, I don't know. I mean, my body is, I don't know why. Diet is super.
I would look at either mouth. You already wrote that down with root canals. Yeah. So that's a big one. Cavitations. You can do neem oil, neem barks. They even have something called dental packs, like little medi dental packs where you pack the area, and that helps disinfect the area. I'd be looking at that. And then how about scar tissues, like any C-sections or episiotomies or thyroid scars? No scars in your whole body. Come on. Nothing? Never had any surgeries? Any traumas?
I had my wisdom teeth out.
Okay. How about head trauma? How about immunization sites? So sometimes when we have, like I had where you have your needle, sometimes those can impact pH as well. If we've had major scar tissues, those, number one, are toxic, right? There's a lot of toxins in those scars. And then number two, from acupuncture medicine, it slows down your energy production in your body, and that can continue to decrease your stomach acids and make you more acidic. But it comes back down to stomach acids again, right? Not breaking down your foods, fermenting, breaking down leaky gut, causing all that sludge that's not being broken down go to the liver, and now you're backing up the liver and all the fatty liver and methylation stuff that all of this is taking place in. All because of not enough stomach acids.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally. That is what's happening.
Yeah. So that's a huge one. Okay, so that's we usually say that's part one. Part one is the methylation cycle here. Okay? So what you have is the folic acid receptor, you have the recycling of your DNA bases. SHMT, now any enzyme that ends in MT needs SAMe. So it's kind of a catch-22. How are you going to make SAMe if you're not methylating, right? It's not going to make SAMe. But then SAMe helps you methylate. It's like, sorry, we're not going to hire you if you don't have experience. It's like, well, how am I going to experience? Yeah, how are you going to do that? So that's where SAMe is good. But in Dr. Lynch's theories, which is great, I believe 100%, is what? On-off. The on-off is one. And then paying SAMe's bills. So let's talk about that. So if you go over here.
Do you also have SAMe here?
I don't. But if you look here, here's SAMe, right? So it says here, 70% of SAMe's utilization goes towards repairing your cell membranes and repairing your muscle. So we're working so hard to make SAMe so that it can help 70%. So think of it as...
Maybe I would have... Does that mean I would have a lot more muscle? Like if I used to work out like crazy and just like not really have the muscle that you would think you might. Is that
sure.
Possibly because of...
Yeah. So the two supplements are creatine, right? The bodybuilders use creatine, and phospholipids. So
not that I'm looking to like gain a lot of muscle, but I'm just wondering, trying to solve this issue.
Well, so what I tell patients is I would rather give, so SAMe, so MT.
How much of that?
Oh, sorry.
How much do I take?
Of the creatine?
SAMe on off.
It's 250. His dose is 250 milligrams. It's just one
day.
capsule. A dose, yeah. Yeah, some people need more. But here's what I'm saying is, if your MTHFR is very slow, which it is, and then some of the other enzymes that MTHFR, then it's like you're making a recipe. SAMe is your recipe. Your first ingredient that you have to make is methylfolate. Your next ingredient that you have to make is B12. The next ingredient you have to make is methionine, and the last ingredient is SAMe. But each ingredient needs that first one in order to make that second one to the third one. Mm-hmm. So we already know your SAMe production is low just based on what we just talked about for methylfolate. Mm-hmm. If SAMe, before it can do anything, before it can repair your DNA, before it can make glutathione, before it can clear out your neurotransmitters, before it can help any of those MT enzymes, it needs to pay the bills. Paying the bills, 70% of its production is towards cell membranes and towards muscle. So let's look at your enzymes and see what the story is there. So we want to look at PEMT, which I believe you were plus on. which is right here. Yes, your plus plus, right? You see that? So we come back over here. That's right here. That's PEMT.
Mm-hmm.
So phospholipids, I would recommend that yesterday. So meaning if I pay your bills, this is a joke I always tell people, I'll be your genetic pimp, pay your bills, right? And then you use the extra money that you have that you don't have to pay your bills to do other things. Does that make sense? So that's why I like that better than SAMe. Right? Because if you just take SAMe, it's going to inhibit that MTHFR enzyme. It's going to shut down, it's going to make more SAW. He talks
So you
about,
don't need SAMe if you're
you
taking-
kind of do, like from time to time, just to get, let's say you got super anxious, super worked up, or you feel like the hair is falling out at, just crazy levels. Then I think it's wise to get some SAMe in there because you still are not making a lot of SAMe, even if you're paying the bills. You're still not making a lot of money. And it just means that you've paid your bills, but you don't have very much extra money to do anything. So that's the trick is like, well, how much? I don't know. You're different than someone else. I don't know your stress levels. Exactly.
Yeah.
Does that make sense though? So I would definitely like the creatine and the phospholipids.
And you don't have that either.
I don't have that. I might have a couple of things. We'll see.
Okay,
We'll
at
see.
the end.
Yeah, at the end. And what we do is I just have them drop shipped to you and it gets there in a couple days.
Okay.
And it's better for me anyways because, I don't know which ones I'm going to sell and not sell. But I would say, okay, right away is the Max BND. A couple drops, see how you do with it. And here's a good rule of thumb. If you take a couple drops and the next day you're like, oh my God, I felt great. That's the next day you don't take anything. Just try to ride that wave as much as you can. Then the next day after that, you feel, not so good again. Then a couple drops again. That's kind of the pulsing method.
Mm-hmm.
Folinic, which is the Max B, hydrochloric acid, which is the betaine, which is going to help make methionine, creatine, and phospholipids. Okay. Looking at your GAMT, so that was this one here, which I don't think it was anything. If we look at it over here, yeah, nothing. So now people will say, okay, I'm good on this enzyme. I don't have to worry about it. But then I would say, well, remember, SAMe is not being made very well because of methylfolate. So you're actually not getting a lot of that SAMe in here anyways. So creatine would still be good. It's not that it's going to be problematic once you make SAMe. It's going to be able to go towards creatine, but there's not a lot of SAMe there to go towards creatine. So if we pay your bills, give you creatine, phospholipids, next thing you know, SAMe is now starting to, hey, I have all this extra disposable income that I don't have to use towards my bill. Now I can go back towards SHMT. Now I can go back to COMT, clear up my dopamine, clear up my hormones, stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Awesome.
Good. So I'm glad because I always get a little worried when I have to do an hour, and it's like if they weren't like you and they didn't already know a lot of this information, I'd be like, oh my God, we got lots to explain to you that you don't know.
I don't know most of this information. But
no, but you know enough.
I know enough to follow you.
Yeah, I know you do. All right. So the other one I want to tell you about is BCMO. So BCMO is a homozygous gene. It's not on this pathway, so you won't find it on the pathway. But what it does is it's vitamin A. So you don't convert beta carotene into vitamin A very well. Vitamin A is important for your mucosal lining, leaky gut, leaky brain, all that type of stuff.
By the way, we did do like the gamma test for the leaky brain, and I was fine.
Good. You mean the GABA challenge?
GABA, yeah. Sorry.
GABA challenge. Okay. You didn't have any reaction?
No.
Good. I would still look at vitamin A though. I have that here. I actually have that here. And what that will do is it will help with your mucosal lining. And it's a lot dose, like 20 drops twice a day, 70,000 IUs. And usually we find the patients that typically when they get sick, they have like respiratory, mucusy type stuff. It's because you're not converting beta carotene to vitamin A. So that'll be really good for you too. So good. So that's that I wanted to talk to you about that. And then looking at your recycling of that B12. So let's look at B12. Your MTRR was plus, I believe. Let's look at it, which was, yes, okay. So you see how it says plus there? That is right here. Guess what it needs as a cofactor? SAMe. So just by giving you phospholipids and creatine, you're already making that MTRR better. So do you see how it's like, okay, we don't want to necessarily micromanage each enzyme, but let's try to help the bigger picture.
It's really complicated.
Now the other thing that happens, if you see here, when you take your B12 levels, are they usually really sky high or no?
No.
They're not.
They're average.
So
after I've been taking like 5,000 mgs a day of B12 and.
So what that tells me is it's deficient and it's oxidized. So it's even more deficient. And because you see this enzyme's not clearing out and you don't have that SAMe. And so what happens is you look at, you see here it says H2O2. That's called hydrogen peroxide. So sometimes you'll see people that have premature graying because they have
too much H2O2.
Yeah. So what that needs is that means glutathione. So if you look down here,
is that glutathione the one that comes with MSN and?
Yeah, NAC.
See, I can't take the sulfur.
You need glutathione in its form.
Yes,
you're not converting NAC to glutathione because you're CBS. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
That's like music to my ears.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look up here, you can see there's actually this enzyme. Okay, so you recycle glutathione well. So meaning once you make it, it recycles and gets made again. That's GST. If you look at your GST enzyme, it's right here. GST right here. You have it's clean gene. It's working fine. It's just getting there. It's just being able to get there. So we do something called liposomal glutathione, and I would really recommend that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. What that will do is that will help clear out that oxidized H2O2 or hydrogen peroxide and help that work better.
Yes.
And on top of that, you're getting hydrochloric acid now, so now you're getting more protein and methionine to feed that cycle.
Is it possible? I swear. I mean, I've been like collecting raw data from the beginning, like pictures, measurements, everything from the beginning of my journey through this. And I believe I've had like my hair color come back. Like I dye my hair. My hair is probably like, I'm guessing like 50% gray. But I started like, normally you would dye the roots, and I was like, oh my God, like.
Sure.
It's not even gray there. Like
for sure.
Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Or am I imagining?
No, it's 100% possible. That's a better indication of either you're controlling your free radicals.
Something I was taking was helping.
Usually it's like superoxide dismutase, catalase, antioxidants like glutathione, vitamin C, PQQ, CoQ10, vitamin E, vitamin C. Any antioxidants like that are going to, yeah. If you want to look at your antioxidant status here, that is right. So you look at where is it? Okay, so you're actually you look at that. So you see catalase is open, and I'll show you where catalase fits on the diagram here as well in a second. And then where's your SOD? SOD is heterozygous. So if we look at that's down here. See SOD and catalase? Mm-hmm. But catalase needs iron as an antioxidant, as a cofactor. So I tell people this pathway down here, which comes off of your methylation pathway. So here is your here's your methionine, and here's where your B12 is, and then homocysteine's here. If we follow it down, that's where we come to here. See where it says homocysteine? So coming down this pathway is all designed for antioxidant function. So your antioxidant function has a major block right at the very first bridge, mm-hmm. right? And guess what it needs to help support it, to get it working? SAMe, right? So if you have low SAMe, you're not going to make those antioxidants. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden getting phospholipids and getting creatine is going to help your glutathione production because you're helping that enzyme go down that direction. So that's that, which is good. So summarizing so far, we have the first cycle. Obviously, you already know about folic acid. Don't take that. Get as much folates as you can. Get the folinic with which you didn't have, and then even the hydrochloric acid, super important. And then the betaine, correct. And then getting the NT factor, which is a phospholipid. That's going to help with the PEMT, which is this enzyme over here, which we said was the one that 70% of SAMe production goes towards repairing your cell membranes. And a lot of times that's the problem. You're not repairing cell membranes, so things can't bind to the receptors. Thyroid can't bind, neurotransmitters can't bind, cortisol can't bind. All those things can't bind to the receptor. So all of a sudden you get that phospholipid that's repairing your cell membranes. All of a sudden your hormones are working a lot better because now there's somewhere to bind to. So that's really great.
Unfortunately, I'm old. I wish I knew this when I was young, but it's better late than never.
Yeah, I mean the body's very forgiving. I mean you just mentioned it, you know. All right, so now going into the neurotransmitters, because that's the hormones and actually one more thing I want to tell you about. So up here, this last enzyme, which is really important, is MAT, right there. So you have plus minus of MAT. So again, what does that come down to? Gut repair. Anything that repairs the gut and settles down inflammation is going to help clear that enzyme from the car accidents in the middle of the highway. It's a 4-lane highway. You're never going to get it an 8-lane highway. It's always going to be a 4-lane highway, but it's a part of the highway. It's very treacherous, lots of car accidents. Those car accidents are infections, inflammation, leaky gut. You clear that out, and all of a sudden even that's going to make you more SAMe too, because that's the last stop between making SAMe.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that for you. I'm sorry I'm going so fast.
No,
I just
this
want to
is
jump.
awesome. I'll listen to the video.
Okay, good. All right, and then now we look into the neurotransmitter side of things. So remember we said BH4 or biopterin was made by recycling of methylfolate, or by having MTHFR a problem, right? Okay, so let me explain that to you how that works. So here's MTHFR. If you have an MTHFR problem, it's not making, because MTHFR stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. So when methyl tetrahydrofolate is made from methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, it has a methyl group on it. It's got to give its methyl group away so that it can become tetrahydrofolate. And then tetrahydrofolate has to become recycled again to become methyl tetrahydrofolate. Then it gives it away, becomes tetrahydrofolate. So you're not recycling methylfolate because of that. So that tetrahydrofolate then makes it problematic for you to be able to make BH4 because you're not recycling B12. You're not going back up to Jacksonville to get more gas to fill up the stations again. So again, just by doing folinic, that's going to be very helpful for your neurotransmitters. But you also have to make sure you have enough iron. And that comes down to, I really gotta believe, stomach acids and absorbing your foods. And liver too, because we store iron in our liver. And liver is obviously very important. If you haven't been digesting your foods for a long time, then your liver is,
problematic. So again, these other doctors tell me, I never thought I had any liver. How would I know? I don't drink alcohol. How would I know I have a liver problem? Well, they say I do. It's like, showing up in other ways.
So do you do like castor oil packs or coffee enemas? Any coffee enemas?
No, I don't do coffee enemas. I've heard about that. I have a colon hydrotherapist that I see, and we do gut cleansing with oil palm tree fiber. I don't know if you've heard of that. And I've seen her. I've been doing that for like 35 years.
Yeah.
This is nothing new.
Little different though. The retention enemas, you're holding them, which is a big difference. I use it as one's like almost like a canteen where you're holding it in there, the water. The other one's more of a pressure wash. It's just, hydrotherapy is great. It sloughs off dead debris and moves things, but it's not retained. So it goes to the portal circulation, goes to the liver, helps with bile flow, and then sedates it with the coffee. It's just in there to pressure wash things.
Yeah.
So bringing that into your protocol would be really great for
the coffee.
For everything. It'd be really great for everything.
Okay.
So that'd be helpful. But then really what would happen is now you're breaking down your protein, right? Because of hydrochloric acid. That coffee enema will help support storage of iron, so now you have more iron available. Folinic acid and paying Sammy's bills will make BH4 recycle. So now all of a sudden you're making your tyrosine, your serotonin, your things that make your neurotransmitters better. So now I would have had a hard time believing that you actually had, you have COMT++, which is going to work in your favor. It works in your favor because it doesn't clear out the very little faucet that drains into that pool from iron, biopterin, protein absorption. If those things aren't working well, it's not going to flow into the dopamine pool. It's not going to flow.
Why do you think I have low iron?
I think the low iron is from digesting foods.
And once I digest foods better, my iron will go up.
And you help cleanse the liver because it's not like it didn't have its impact. Not digesting your food for a long period of time and having methylation issues cause that liver to get fatty and cause the bile to not flow, and that causes backup and bile stasis and so forth. So just getting more iron from breaking down your proteins is not a magic wand. You still want to, do the support. But what I'm saying is your COMT worked in your favor in that instance, because if you think about iron, biopterin, which is the BH4 from methylfolate, and protein absorption was very low. So your faucet wasn't turned up all the way. So if you have just drips of water dripping into your dopamine pool, COMT is working in your favor because it's holding it there longer. It's like a natural reuptake inhibitor.
Okay.
So it worked in your favor.
Good.
Right? So that's good. But it also.
No wonder I'm alive.
Well, yeah, right. No, I see a lot more. So it's just where we have problems with the environmental triggers that make it even worse. Like I see people that have less enzyme problems have more real problems because they have all these triggers that are causing them to go off.
So do I have less
it's hard
enzyme problem?
No, you're in the middle of the road. I mean, you're here. I don't talk to people that aren't here. So that, typically they don't have as much problems. But that COMT is a problem in terms of it needs SAMe for cofactor. Any enzyme that ends in MT needs SAMe as a cofactor. So going and looking at your enzymes one more time, where are they? Over here, just right here, COMT++. I mean, it's real slow. It needs phospholipids, creatine. All of a sudden, COMT is working better, right? Because why? SAMe is available. Now you're clearing it out.
Yeah.
And if iron's available, and you're methylating your folate and you're getting folinic and not just focusing on methylfolate, now you're bringing a lot more new nutrients in for that faster COMT to clear. So now you have a nice pond. Like the pond needs new fresh water rolling in and getting out instead of just holding more water in there and bringing new water to the old water. You want to clear it out, bring it in. Clear it out, bring it in. That's what we're doing in that case. PNMT is another enzyme that's going to benefit in this. It's right over here. It helps make your adrenaline. Needs SAMe as a cofactor again.
Oh, that's my adrenaline, I think. Or yeah. Well, you keep talking. I'll look it up here. I think it was the adrenaline.
All right. So bottom line is that that's going to be helped too. So we don't micromanage that particular enzyme because it's already helped with what we've talked about. What was the other one I wanted to tell you about? Yep. No, those are the main ones that we're talking about. Yeah, I'll tell you what, you're on the lesser scale of a lot of the people that I see, believe it or not, in terms of in terms of the susceptibilities, right?
Tyrosine was at 50. My copper was all messed up in the beginning.
So yeah, tyrosine was, I'm sorry, would you say tyrosine was what?
50.
What's the scales? I mean, they're depending on what test it is. It's different.
So yeah, it's blood serum. They give a reference range of, looks like 39 to 98, 95.
So it's in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
Lower middle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it tells you too much. That's not a super useful test.
No.
Yeah.
So what should I be, I start on the supplements you recommend and test again in 3 months, and what should I be testing for?
Well, I mean, basic blood tests are always the best thing in my opinion. I mean, you look at ferritin, right? See your ferritin levels be at around 75. I think that's a good number to be at. Looking at
I'm
your
at like 40.
not super bad. I mean, that's okay.
You need like, I think 70 to even like start.
I have
hair
people
growth.
at 15,
Oh my
at
gosh.
10. You know, I think again of it, a lot of it comes down to breaking down your proteins, and a lot of it comes down and cleansing the liver,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of it comes down to that. What other enzymes did I want to look at? A couple of we didn't talk about this one. I'm sorry. So PON1, you have PON1 homozygous.
I get a copy of that, right?
Yeah, I'll have them print that out for you.
Oh.
So PON1 is over here. Where is it? Right here. That's PON1. All right, so the big thing about PON1 is just pesticides. That's the big one that we talk about.
Wow.
So you don't clear out pesticides. So I mean, most people don't anyways, but you're plus plus.
Yeah.
So
I can tell I'm super sensitive
to GMOs and stuff.
I can't take cologne, perfume, gasoline.
Well, and that's
solvents.
that's glutathione depletion.
Oh, that's something else.
That's more. Well, it's in the PO. It's when you eat like organophosphates. When you eat GMO foods, you're not going to clear those quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get those headaches and you're chemical sensitive.
It's funny. Like I don't get headaches. Rarely ever, for anything, unless I'm like emotionally, crying or something. But I get like super, like I can taste it, I can smell it far away. It's irritating to me.
Right. I still think that's glutathione depletion. Where think about what glutathione needs. It needs SAMe. It needs protein absorption. You have CBS++, and you're producing a lot of hydrogen peroxide from oxidized B12. So you're depleting it quickly, and you're not making it quick enough. So when your glutathione becomes depleted, all of a sudden those chemical exposures just give you headaches and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one of it. Yeah, so I got 10 minutes. So that's good. 10 minutes to answer all your questions as much as we possibly can.
Where do I find reference ranges for the tests that are meaningful? Because Quest and LabCorp, I mean, this means like I'm not dying, basically.
Yeah, I can have him print out one for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called like a functional range.
Yes, but like I want optimum health range. Like, tell me what is the best case scenario.
Yeah, you're talking about for your basic blood work, for functional ranges, like for proteins and livers. For everything,
but let's start with basic.
Yeah, I'll have him print that out for you. I'll go up to right.
Why is that information not readily available here?
I mean, I think you could punch it up on the internet.
There's this one guy that did it, but he charges monthly to see the information he found.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, what's one of my other questions there?
Look at your other enzymes here.
How much iodine do I take?
You do have thyroid antibodies, right?
Yes. I didn't. They had come down. And then I had every single iodine deficiency. So I started, and well, I guess it's only been 2 months, but I guess I kind of did it helped me to detox because I felt great. I mean, I had like moles on my scalp that just disappeared. They just completely became flat, itchy, flaked off. I'm like, oh my God, like how'd that happen? Like my skin, I've been losing freckles, just like coming off my face. Like it's like.
And you're saying this is all because we're healing. We're having,
because
right.
I'm healing. Like
right.
Everything, my eye color is changing.
Right.
That's why I went to see the iridologist. I was like, okay, my eyes are different colors. Like, what's happening?
Right.
So, I think the iodine for 2 months kind of detoxed me, if you will.
Well,
I don't know.
it probably helps your thyroid, right? And your thyroid.
Well, yeah,
created.
it sucked it up at first. I almost had hoarse throat.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, I don't know what I would recommend. I mean, we have something called Xenos. We have it here.
Zeolite.
Not zeolite. It's called Xenostat. I know what zeolites are. Those are more detoxing.
Yeah.
Xenostat we have are like sea vegetables that are high in natural
Like
iodines. Kelp. Yeah, stuff like that.
So I was taking the kelp, and then I started taking, because they say you need iodine and iodide for like breasts, ovaries, because I have very fibrocystic breasts. Like
right.
Every time they do the mammogram, they can't do it. They want a biopsy, whatever. So, man, I feel a lot better on the iodine, but my antibodies went up. So I did that 24-hour loading test with the iodine.
Yeah.
And I have the results here, but I think it kept like, I don't know, I want to say 40 to 50% of it kept.
Right.
So should I just be taking what that test said it kept?
It's hard to micromanage that. I'm not enough of an expert to tell you that. But I would tell you this much. I'm glad it repleted very quickly, but then it brought your antibodies up.
Right.
Right.
I think that is what's causing the antibody, because they were at 4.3. They dropped to 2.2, which is like totally normal range for TSH.
Right.
And then it went to 7 because of the iodine.
Right. But that's not antibodies. That's just TSH.
That's TSH. The antibodies also went 10 times.
They went higher. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell you. You know what? You can pulse that too, and then go on like on a kelp afterwards, because it will help give you natural form. Because really, what's the problem there is it's not natural forms. If you're getting natural forms of iodine, now it will suck up the amount that was already repleted from the depletion, but starting to go back down again. Does that make sense to you?
So how long does it take to get out of my body? Like if I have too much, do I need to like...
I don't know how. I honestly don't know. Yeah. I would just say, because I wouldn't because everything else is working better from what we just talked about too, right? So I would be looking at maybe just giving you more of a natural iodine support versus a synthetic one.
Okay.
Now that you've kind of gone through the heck of building it right back up, and now I just pull that away and do the other stuff.
And then just continued gut healing. Like, I mean, obviously I'm on the right track.
Yeah, what are you doing for it?
I mean, my diet, the supplements that I listed there, I don't know if I need to be doing anything else special for that. I mean, my food sensitivities are all foods. And they were like off the chart high.
That's your. Do you do short? You said you short. Did you? I'm sorry that my whole schedule is blending together today. Did you do? You say you did short chain fatty acids? Is that? Did you tell me that or no? I'm so sorry.
I have.
Oh, it was the last one. I'm sorry. The last one. It's like butyrate, is what it is. So I'm looking at here. You have here.
Not. Is that like omega-3, omega-6?
No, it's butyrate is what it is. You know what's good?
But
it's
I
like,
didn't know.
It's called arabino or galactans. It's like yeah, that's what it is. It's like a prebiotic that makes butyrate in your gut lining, and that will dampen your immune response, so you're not so hyperreactive to different foods, and that's called butyrate. We have a couple. I don't have it here. A couple supplements. One's called Sun Spectrum. Sun Spectrum has butyrate in it. So what that's going to do is going to knock down the immune system to not be so reactive.
Yeah.
But it also has some curcumoids, which are the curcumins that settle down inflammation. And
is that curcumin?
Yeah, it's like that, but it's in a different form.
Because I actually eat a lot of turmeric.
No, it's perfect. This is
I was taking curcumin supplements, but then that was part of the WENS protocol, and then I stopped.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm just saying this is called Sun Spectrum. It's in it's got a couple things together. So it's got the if you were to just look at butyrate, would be good. It's short chain fatty acids. Okay. But I'm always about the most bang for your buck when it comes to supplements, right? So that you can get that's why betaine is so great, because it breaks down your proteins. And it also helps make methionine and help you with your methylation cycle. So it's 2 for 1.
Yeah.
The Sun Spectrum is 2 for 1 in the sense that you're getting the butyrate for the short chain fatty acids, but it also has CoQ10 for your energy production, and it has curcumoids for reducing inflammation, and fiber for helping slow down insulin spikes with glucose surges. And it's just a powder you put in your smoothie, and that's called Sun Spectrum. If you didn't do that, you would just be looking at butyrate supplements, which are really good for short chain fatty acids, for lowering the amount of foods that you're possibly reacting to, and sealing the tight junctions.
What about I take so many, I put all this stuff in my smoothie. What is it? Cellulose skin.
Collagen.
Collagen, thank you. But I think it's from like animal skin or something. I was like, what? This sounds gross. Is that like
collagen's soothing for the gut, right? I mean, it's soothing for. It's also helpful for. Yeah, it's mostly soothing for the gut lining.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already doing like a lot of leaky gut stuff, and you're doing like glutamine and aloe vera, and
I put fresh aloe in every day.
Yeah, I think you're okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will let that run out. I was thinking I don't really feel anything from this, but
yeah, I think you're okay.
Am I like crazy too? I think I feel a difference when I take bee pollen and royal jelly.
It's for your liver. Really good.
That's helping for the liver.
Yeah.
So it is. I do have like liver issues.
Well, I just think you have liver issues because you haven't been digesting your food for a long period,
Right.
not because you're an alcoholic.
Right. No, but
Yeah.
I mean, right. I eat so clean. I'm thinking, how can I possibly have liver, problems? But I what is it? Because like what I don't digest, because of autoimmune, it's like in my blood, and the liver's doing double time trying to take care of all
that
extra stuff.
That too. But it's also just think of it as when you don't digest your food, it ferments, it rots, but then it still goes to the liver. And now the liver has to process all that.
Right.
And you don't have
already been digested.
Yeah, it should have been digested. And you should have extracted B vitamins and iron and all that stuff, which you don't have.
That.
So you don't, not only is it overload, it's making it work harder, it's paying it half the money to be able to do it, right? Because it's not giving it any salary to do it. That's how it is. Does that make sense?
I want to get on your program and see how I feel.
Yeah, you got lots of tools. So just to reiterate again, so we're looking at the Folinic, a couple drops, and make your way up to, I would say probably.
This I'm gonna buy now.
I think you should.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
And then we're also looking at vitamin A for your BCMO, which
I'm
is
not taking.
I'm sure you're not.
It used to be in a multi, but I stopped the
No.
multi. I have everything separate, so I know exactly.
Yeah, but this is like 70, this is a lot of IUs. I mean, like 20 drops twice a day, which is really good. Then we talked about the NT factor. It's just a quarter teaspoon. It's a little small thing.
This I'm going to get from you.
Shipping. This is shipping.
All right.
I'll write it down up front.
Yeah.
And then I'll make sure I send you the video.
Yeah.